showing you a super awesome trick, and this is the performance for it right here. So for this performance, I just want you to imagine that I have a spectator here next to me, and also imagine that I have a crowd of people watching. That is the situation that this trick is best suited for. It's when I have one spectator next to me and then a crowd of people watching us. So I would ask the spectator who's next to me, I would ask them, do you have a good intuition, or do you make really good intuitive guesses? And they can say yes, no, I don't know. But I tell them that today I want to try an experiment with your intuition. And I want you to know something about intuition is that it actually works best when it's completely unintentional and without you really trying and without you really knowing why you're using it. That's when we make the best intuitive guesses. So I want to try a little bit of an experiment with this deck of cards and your intuition. So I'll spread the cards out here on the table, and I will have everyone here see that you guys can see that I've taken this deck and I've just went ahead of time and separated the colors into red and black, just like this. Now, the reason for this is because we are going to be using both of these halves separately. So we're not really going to combine the deck. We're actually going to separate both of the halves here, just like this. And I would actually give one of the halves to the spectator, say the red cards, and I tell them, go ahead, you guys can shuffle these cards as much as you like, and then we can also shuffle the black cards as well, as much as we want. So all of these cards are completely shuffled. We have the red cards here and the black cards over here. Now for this next part of the trick, like I said, your intuition works best when you have no idea why you're using it. So I'd actually ask the spectator next to me to close their eyes or turn away because I don't want them to look at what I'm doing for this next part of the trick. I'm actually going to prepare something for you to do. But I'm going to have the rest of the crowd that's watching, I'm going to have you guys are going to be able to see what I do, but only the spectator who's next to me is not going to be able to watch. So spectator will turn around, and now I will begin setting up the deck for this next part of the experiment. So this is what I'm going to do, okay? And I'm not really going to say what I'm doing, but I just want the crowd to watch what I'm doing. So you guys can see this is what I'm doing right over here. Okay. So crowd, do you understand what's just happened here? Yes? Okay. So now the spectator can actually turn around. They can see what I've done, but they don't really know what I've done. All they see is that I have red cards here and black cards here. I'm going to give them the red cards, and I tell them I just want them to take the cards face down and deal them one at a time face up on the table. And whenever they want to, I want them to stop and then take the next card. Don't look at it, but just place it face down on the table. I don't want you to do that once. I actually want you to do that 3 different times. So I want you to take 3 random cards out of this pack of red cards, okay? And just do it completely randomly. So I give the cards over to the spectator, and I have them deal out the cards, and whenever they're ready, they can stop and just deal the next card face down. And I tell them, just do this 2 more times so that we have 3 random cards. And they can do this completely whenever they want to because they're the ones holding the cards. And I tell them to continue dealing through the rest of the cards so that we can actually see all the other cards here. Now the crowd at this point might be having a little bit of a reaction, and the spectator who's just next to me might not know exactly why that is. But we're going to explain to the spectator now what's just happened. So remember in the beginning of the trick, we took all the cards and we separated them into black and red. While you were turned around, I actually took 3 black cards randomly. I just pulled out 3 black cards, and I actually dispersed them in random positions inside of the red pile. So there were 3 black cards inside of this red pile. Then when you turned around, I had you deal through the cards and pull out any 3 cards from the red pile. As you can see, there are 3 face down cards right here that you've pulled out, but there are no black cards visible in this red pile. And that's because our intuition works best when it's completely unintentional. And there you have 1, 2, 3 black cards out of the red pile. And that right there is the performance. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you did, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. Alright guys, so here's the tutorial for the trick that you just saw. So this trick is actually extremely easy to do. There's really only one, maybe two sleights that you actually have to practice and perfect for this trick in order for it to work. But yeah, this trick is actually not that difficult to perform. So I will get right into how it's done. So first things first, you actually do need to have a little bit of a setup, but it's super easy. The first thing you want to do is separate the cards into red and black ahead of time before the trick starts, because if you do this while the performance is happening, obviously it's going to be very boring to watch. And then the second part of the setup before you go up to your spectators is you just want to take any 3 black cards and place these in your pocket, and you want to place these in the position face down in your pocket so that the faces of the cards are basically facing my skin. The reason for this is that if I was going to grab the cards out of my pocket and then turn my wrist over, the cards will now be face up in my hand. And this is the position you want the cards to be in, because you're actually going to be loading these 3 cards in at the very last minute of the trick. So these 3 cards, it doesn't matter what they are, but these cards will go into the pocket, and that really is the only setup for this trick. There is one more super extra little thing that you don't have to do it all, but I kind of like to do it just to make it look as good as you can. And it's this little thing right here with the red cards. All you want to do is just take any pair of soulmates. I just took the 2 red 8s, and I'm going to place those cards on the bottom and then the 4th to last card like this. So that soulmate will be the first card, and then you count 1, 2, 3, 4. That card will be the soulmate right here. That's a super extra little thing that I'll get into in just a minute. But it does help make the trick look a little bit cleaner overall. So once you're in this position, you're actually ready to go. You tell the spectator that this is going to be a little bit of an intuition experiment, and you tell them that your intuition is actually strongest when it's completely unintentional. And they might not know what that means, but you'll tell them that we're going to explain it through this card trick over here. So you spread the cards out, you tell the spectator that the cards have been separated into red and black ahead of time, and you tell them the reason for this is that we're going to be using these 2 piles separately from each other. Now this is where the first sleight comes in. It's not really even a sleight. All you're doing is you're actually just getting a break underneath a certain card. So what you're going to do is you're going to spread halfway so that you see the separation point between the red and black cards. Now what the spectators think is happening is they think that you're separating the cards into fully red and fully black. But what you're actually doing is you're actually going to be stealing some of the red cards away onto the black pile. So you're not separating here, you're actually going to separate here. You're going to steal 3 red cards along with the black pile. And you're going to do this by catching a break on that 3rd to last card over here. You're going to spread until you have 3 red cards visible. Then you're going to lift up and catch a break and square up those cards. Now the reason why I have the soulmates prepared here is so that when the spectators see I have a red 8 here as the top red card, when I square up the cards, maintain the break with the top 3 red cards. Later, when I separate these piles, they again see another red 8. So they assume that this is the same 8 that they were looking at before, but in reality, that 8 has actually been stolen. So all I've done is I've taken the 3 black cards and I've just stolen them because I was holding a break, and then I just hold a thumb break and I cut the cards like this at the thumb break. You're actually going to give all the red cards over to the spectator, and the spectator is going to be able to mix these up as much as they want to, because these truly are just red cards. But you, the magician, are going to take the black pile, and then you are going to shuffle it, because there are some red cards in here and you don't really want the spectators to see those. But you're just going to shuffle these, and then make sure when you finish that you have a black card on the face. It doesn't matter what it is, but just make sure you have 1 black card on the face. Then when the spectator's finished, you guys can just set the cards down. And now you tell the spectator next to you that you want them to turn around or close their eyes, because you don't want them to see you setting up for the experiment. But you're going to let the rest of the crowd watch you do this. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking the black cards and pulling out the 3 red cards that are now going to be randomly shuffled in the middle of here. But you don't want to take these out openly. You want to conceal the faces from the crowd, because the crowd thinks that these are all black cards and they're going to think that you're pulling out 3 black cards. But in reality, you're actually pulling out the 3 secret red cards that you have in here. But this image right here, when you finish, you're going to pull out 3 cards like this, and then you're going to spread out the black cards. This image right here makes it completely believable that I've just taken out 3 random black cards from the black pile. And then I'm going to spread out the red cards and then I'm gonna sort of gesture that I'm going to take these cards and lose them among the red cards like this. And I have to remind you guys that at this point, you are not saying what you're doing. You are not going to be saying. So I'm gonna go through here and pull out 3 black cards and place them in here because the spectators turned around and you want them to have no idea what this experiment is all about. So you're just gonna do this part completely silently, but the crowd will be able to completely understand what's going on just through your actions. You don't have to say anything in this part. From this point, it looks like you've taken 3 black cards and placed them randomly among the red pile, but in reality, these are all red cards still, and these are all black cards, of course. When the spectator turns around, you're going to give them the red pile face down, and you're gonna tell them to deal the cards out face up like this, and whenever they want to, they're just gonna take out 3 random cards and set them face down next to the pile like this. And they can be from literally anywhere in the pile. And then also tell them when they finish, if they finish before the cards run out, tell them to continue to deal the cards face up. And this is so that the rest of the crowd who is watching, who understands what's going on, they will be able to sort of have a little bit of a reaction at this point. They'll be like, whoa, they just pulled out the 3 black cards without knowing. And the crowd will completely understand the trick at this point. So at this point, you're gonna set up for the second sleight, which is basically a little bit of a gambler's cop. So the whole time that the spectator is dealing through these cards and putting these cards on the table, your hands can just go by your side and you can take your left hand and put it in your pocket and get these cards, 3 cards, into a gambler's cop position, just like this. And the reason for this is because you are going to be taking the 3 cards that they've dealt face down, picking them up, and loading the 3 black cards under them like this. And yes, they are going to be facing the opposite direction. Now, you might not realize why. It will all make sense in just a minute. So one more time, I'm gonna take these cards and I'm gonna load them underneath the 3 black cards like this. So at this point, I can just spread off the top 2 cards, just showing that I have 3 cards, and I kind of like to hold it in this position, but be careful not to spread off more because spectators think that there's only 3 here. So this image will make sense. So now what I'm gonna do is move the red cards closer to me on the table, and then I'm gonna move the black cards ahead of them like this, so more in front of the table. Now I'm gonna square up the red cards, and I'm going to do 2 things at once. My right hand is going to come over and spread all the black cards like this, and my left hand is going to actually turn over and spread all the red cards. What this will do is it will actually switch these 3 red cards for these 3 black cards in the action of turning them over. It will be a totally invisible switch, and it's perfectly natural because you're just sort of spreading out the cards. It looks especially natural and covered when you do it with both hands, and you're gonna use your right hand as cover to sort of cover the action of you turning your wrist over. But the spectator is not really gonna notice this turning over action anyway, because you're going to be talking and spreading out the cards and everything's just gonna be super misdirected. But at full speed, the move should look something like this. So if you remember in the beginning of the trick, we actually had the cards separated into black and red, and there you go, the trick is over, just like that. So at this point, you basically just wanna explain what's just happened to the spectator who's next to you. You tell them that, yes, in the beginning we had black and red cards. While you were turned around, I actually took 3 black cards and I placed them inside of the red pile. As you can see, there are no visible black cards in the red pile here, but you did actually pull out 3 random cards. And of course, you had no idea why you were pulling out these cards. You just sort of did it randomly, unintentionally. And that's when our intuitive guesses work best. And then you flip over the 3 black cards and everyone freaks out. And yeah, that is the trick, guys. And everything at this point is completely examinable. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's a really fun little trick. I think you guys will enjoy it. So go out, perform it, let me know how it goes. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.